Hey everybody, thanks for clicking on Liz the One TV. I'm your girl Liz the One. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for your girl. Tap the bell to be notified of my latest greatest videos. Fun fact, most of the people that consume my content are not subscribed to the channel. So help me get that number up. Subscribe to the channel, give me a like. So I am about to review season 1, episode 1 of The Madness, starring Coleman Domingo. And Dion Cole is in this series too, but this was pretty good. So this will be listener friendly. I'm not going to put too much on the screen. So if you're at work or you're driving in your car, you can listen to it. Unless it's something that I really need to draw your attention to, then I will just put it on the screen so you can see it too. So let's start. So it starts and he's running. He's running through the woods like it's a life or death situation. And then finally he makes his way to a diner nearby and 2 police officers are sitting down. And he's panting and he says, "How are you doing, officers?" And they respond, "How are you doing?" Now, flashbacks appear on the screen of the story to come, involving guns, him in a small pond. Then it comes back to the present where he's in front of the 2 cops and he says, "Rough morning." And then the music plays and then the title of the show pops up. And then we get back to the story. So in the beginning, he's a fitness freak. He stage trained, he runs, he does jujitsu training. He's very well accomplished. So he is a writer and he's hosting a show on CNN. He's filling in for a coworker named Donna, I believe, while she's away. And then Dion Cole, I believe his character's name is Quasi. So he's in the series and they meet at a bar. And about him being a permanent host on CNN is what they're trying to do. So Quasi is Muncie Daniels. Muncie, I believe his name is Muncie Daniels, attorney. So this is who Coleman Domingo plays. He has a great apartment is what I noticed. He's got a son from his estranged wife. With the scene with the son and the estranged wife, he goes to the door and he tells the wife that she looks good. And I'm assuming she called him over because there was an issue with the son. The son comes downstairs and, the 2 of them speak alone. And it was over weed pretty much. And he says, "Listen, I can't tell you what to do, but at least hide it from your mom." The son agrees. They exchange "I love yous" and then they go their separate way. So the son's name is Demetrius. Demetrius and Muncie seem to have a great relationship, okay? So this is a little long-winded because I have to lay it out because I'm trying to be detailed so that way you don't miss anything, right? Then the setting, he goes to the country. It appears he's renting a home, possibly an Airbnb on the lake. He does have a neighbor, okay? So I'm going to get to it in a minute, what's sort of irritating me slightly about this scene, but okay, so it looks like he went there, to sort of just get away, to get some work done, and maybe just to have some fun. He goes out for a jog because he's a fitness freak, and his neighbor pulls up in a Chevy pickup, and the neighbor notices him. The neighbor is really nice. Seems intrigued by him. He notices him. He says, "You're famous. You're on TV pretty much." But he seems hospitable, but something is pretty off about the neighbor. Okay. So he offers to help him if he needed it. Okay. So while he's in here, he's smoking. Like when he goes back to his house, he's smoking, making food and watching a show. Then all of a sudden, this is where things start to go. And you can kind of notice the changes in scenes, like when the music changes, but just this is a really good important part. The power goes out. Okay, the power goes out, and he doesn't seem like a country guy. He goes out to try to find a fuse box. He can't get a signal on his phone. He goes out to the shed also, but then he remembers that neighbor from next door. The white guy. He's a white guy who offers to help him. So he walks over and he's announcing himself like, "Hello, it's Muncie, the TV guy." And then there's no answer. No cell phone reception. He notices that the door of his neighbor's shed is slightly open, and he walks towards the shed, opens the door, and finds his neighbor dismembered body on the floor. The body is dismembered, the hands are on the floor, his head is separated from the rest of the body. Everything is just separated. So he turns around to run, and two masked men appear. So he runs into the woods. The men start shooting, and while chasing him, in the course, he fell down, like he slid down the hill, and he kind of hurt his knee a little bit. He hops back up and he runs by accident into a pond. He pretty much fell into it. He swims up, and then he hears them talking. Then he sees them. One guy walking up, he ducks back into the pond, puts his head down in it, and he holds his breath. The guy fires a few rounds into the water to make sure he's not in there. Then he walks away, and he slowly comes up out of the water. The guy comes back around, and Muncie hops up, and this is where all that training comes in, the jiu-jitsu and all that. He rushes the guy from behind, and this is like the jiu-jitsu training he was doing. And somewhere there's a knife in the tussle, and he manages to stab the guy while he has him in a chokehold. And then he takes off running again. He finds a comfy spot to sit down, and he falls asleep. So this part a little bit sort of irritates me. So fight or flight. They're like, your adrenaline is not still pumping, like it just kind of wore off, and you feel safe going to sleep right here in these woods. But this is what they put on the series, so I'm gonna keep going. He wakes up like after he was asleep. It's daytime now because it was setting. I'm stuttering, I guess. It was dawn, sort of, you know what I'm saying, like, or not dawn, but it was setting. The sun was setting, so it was becoming night. So he wakes up, his leg is busted, and he's a little hurt. He finds the road. He tries to hitchhike, but then this is where the first scene, it flashes, and he catches up with the officers. He sits and he tells them what happened. They drive over to the place, and guess what? Everything is cleaned up like nothing happened. So the police think he made it up because he's a writer. They find a watch, and they ask what's going on. And one of the police officers asks, are they going to wind up arresting him for this? And then the police finds out that the neighbor's truck is on a 3-month lease. So the neighbor that pulled up, the white guy, his truck is on a 3-month lease, and it is registered to a man named, the name is Dick Silk. In which they say it sounds like a porn name. I'm assuming that it was meant to be sort of an incognito name, because whose name is Dick Silk. Then they suggest that they go over to the place that Muncie is renting. Like, they drive over, and they notice that his tires are slashed. It gets weird. They don't believe him. They drive off, and they leave him there. He doesn't have a phone. The police did call him a tow truck. So remember when he fell into the pond and there were 2 guys chasing him, he only stabbed one guy. It was still one guy left. But so the police call him a tow truck. The tow truck guy, he comes out to change the tire and discovers a tracker in the tire. And so now it hits him that somebody is after him. He goes to his neighbor's truck, and he was about to touch the door, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, you know what? This is how people get caught. Go ahead, put your fingerprints on the door. But then he stopped, and he pulled back, and then he pulled his sleeve down, and he used his sleeve to open the door. He pulls out this card. He sees this card, and on the back of it, it says "Buy cereal." Is what this says on the back of the card. He goes, but on the front it says something like Mark Simon Furniture or something like that. He goes back home to his really nice place, the apartment that I don't understand why he couldn't do all of this at, since he was staying by himself and he was estranged from his wife anyway. And he sits down, and the leg that's bandaged, he was about to start messing with it and trying to treat it, I guess, but then he noticed that his family picture with him, his son, and his estranged wife was turned sideways, like it wasn't facing, because his place is really neat, and when things are really neat, you notice things out of place. So he's looking, and of course his patio door is open and the latch is broken. So of course he involves the police in his town, and Dion Cole Quasey, his lawyer, they're all there. The police information of the investigation in the town over, I believe it was the Poconos he was in, where he had just left, saying that they found drug paraphernalia in the woods. You know, the thing he talked to his son Demetrius about earlier. But Quasi is the lawyer, and he's smart, and he stops the police from accusing him. But when they leave and they talk, Quasi tells him, like, he's like, Muncie, you need to lay low, get a burner phone and pay cash with it. And to me, it sounds smart. Quasi tells him he can't stay there because pretty much it looks like they're trying to pin everything on him. He says that, you know, you have 2 police departments and they're thinking that you're crazy or you did it. So, newsflash, they're trying to pin all of this on you, is what he says. Anything else that happened in that town that night included would be pinned on you. So it wouldn't just be this. Anything that went wrong in a town that you're not from is going to be pinned on you, which is why I think he should have kept his black ass home. But let's keep going. So the lawyer tells him that he's going to try to find out more information once he leaves. And while the lawyers are talking in the background, he told him to find out the guy in the cabin and maybe the police will start listening. He picks up the card he found in the neighbor's truck, and Simon's Home Furnishings with the location information and phone number are all on there. So he pulls up in front of the store, and what appears to be a black Lincoln pulls out in front of him, like it just speeds out, okay? And of course he noticed, but he goes in the store, right? Well, he's a writer and he's a journalist, and he finds out Mark Simon is the owner talking to the sales associate pretty much, and he's only in like once a week. He pokes for more info about, you know, the whereabouts, but of course the employee can't give out that information. And because he told the sales associate Mark said he would help him with a man cave, the associate said that he could help, you know, before Muncie was about to walk out the store. He was about to walk out, but he noticed a suspicious man in the back of the store, and he turned around and he started conversating with the store employee. It's a furniture store for context. So now the store employee is pretty much running his mouth a lot now, and he reveals that the man has 2 sons and he's going through a divorce, and she was asking for full custody of the kids, which leads me to say this. It's not okay to tell everybody your business for this exact reason, because this babbling fool might have, you know, led the killers to his boss, even though he wasn't. We haven't confirmed that he's the deceased guy, Mark, yet. But let me just get back to it. Anyway, he leaves the store, finds out where the wife's address. He's sitting in his Range Rover. As people walk by, and of course they notice him because he's a black guy in a black car in their lily white neighborhood. So she pulls up, in the driveway, gets out with their kids, 2 boys. And he approaches her and asks her questions. She tries calling, the estranged husband who was supposed to be Mark, because he tells him that he thinks that he was in some sort of a trouble. He asked her if anyone would want to hurt him. She asks, "Don't you know?" Like he was supposed to know this, right? And she explains, like, he was an asshole. He was a jerk. And she's not with him anymore. And then a man pulls up in a burgundy F-150 pickup, and he leaves her with a card too. So he's sitting at a cafe, and of course he's trying to check the leg wound again, and this guy sitting in the diner looking at him like, ugh. But then the FBI pulls up on him to question him. He asks the agent why he was there. He in turn asked, "Have you heard of a white supremacist movement called the Forge?" Okay. He replies yes, because of course he's a writer and a journalist. The FBI agent told him Mark, the neighbor, the one that was weird and he was really hospitable for some weird reason, and the Poconos, was a member. And he said it goes deeper than this. And he opens up his laptop, and he's a white supremacist with a newsletter called the Brother 14 Dispatch with 5 million subscribers, right? So this guy is like a grand wizard or something like that. He's really high up. and he's just really high up there and he has a lot of fans. So now the FBI agent is gaslighting him, and he also appears to be a person of color to imply that he unalived him. And yes, I have to say unalived on YouTube. So he reversed it on the FBI agent and implied maybe the FBI did it and they needed somebody to blame. And I'm like, exactly, pretty much what you're looking for. This is why people don't report stuff, because when they try to tell what happened, things get turned around on them. But the agent told him he watched too many movies. The FBI agent implied, that he had Black Lives Matter ties. And he explained he didn't have BLM ties because he defended, somebody on TV. And the FBI agent accused him of running, a nonprofit, to take on racist landlords. Now, I don't really know how running a nonprofit to take on racist landlords is racist, but I don't know. In the world of fake reverse racism, I guess. Which was even like it was starting to irritate me a little bit. If racism affects you, you should definitely fight it. The agent tries to gaslight Moore, saying that he's a black man that dislikes oppression. If you're being, and then, of course I have to say this, if you are being oppressed, of course you're going to dislike it because it's affecting you. Okay. So of course you're going to dislike it. So he reversed it this time. And again, told the agent, well, you're Puerto Rican. They don't like you either. The agent gives his card and suggests that they could work together. He goes to a clinic to get looked at for that leg and notices the guy looking at him. But then, in the cut to the next part, and then he's in a wheelchair and two guys walk up and ask him about Brother 14. They're two white guys, which means somebody put the info out. In my opinion, it was more than likely the police officers of that town. It could have been somebody else. It could have been the people that performed the hit. So, but anyway, they threatened him. They threatened his family. And then he falls out the wheelchair, trying to grab at one of them. But then that's when he called his estranged wife and the mother of his son, leaving the hospital. And he tells them to be ready in 10 minutes. So a white lady approaches, she's got a YouTube channel that she runs. And he's heard of it. She explains there's a lot of, talk flying around, but I know you didn't do it. This is what she says to him. Now, once again, I said that this is just obvious. It may involve the assassins or the original police. She explains that she can help, leaves her card with him. He told his family they needed to go. They left. Got to a motel. Son finds a forum. The information is plastered over the forum. The estranged wife, who he seems to be listening to, asked what I was asking. She was like, pretty much, what did you have your black ass doing out there? Stuff like that. But she suggests that he call the lady and the FBI agent because he needed help. He called the white lady YouTuber, and he called her a few times. Her name was Laura Jennings, and finds out on the news she was hospitalized and she had a heart attack. So while in public at the hotel lobby, not like in the Continental Breakfast, it's not exactly the Ritz. He finds out that this lady is in the ICU. A guy sitting at the table turns and says, makes you want to go to the gym, because he finds out that she had a heart attack, but she's fairly young, so there was no reason she had a heart attack. This piques his interest. The guy is standing in front of a black Chevy SUV. When they walk outside, his son interrupts and asks him to get his, controller out of the car. And, of course, the guy speeds off. So in the car, he finds, a man's watch while looking for his son's controller. And it's the bloody watch in the car with the initials MS standing for Mark Simon on the back. And then he starts looking around, and then the show ends. So this episode was pretty good all over. There were a couple of things that, just made me go, okay, Captain Obvious. But this was really, really, really good. So since I like the pilot episode, I am going to review the whole season. So season 1 episode 2 review will be posted Monday at 1 p.m. So I will see you guys then. Make sure you give me a thumbs up, like the video, share the video. Peace out.